Hi there. I think it's time for a story. Today we're going to have two books, and they kind of have a similar theme. We'll let you see if you can figure out what they are. The first book is called A Squash and a Squeeze. It's by Julia Donaldson and illustrated by Alex Scheffler, and it's published by, I forgot to check, Margeret McElderry books. So here we go. A Squash and a Squeeze. What an interesting title. Now, a little old lady lived all by herself, with a table and chairs and a jug on the shelf. A wise old man heard her grumble and grouse, "There's not enough room in my house." "Wise old man, won't you help me, please? My house is a squash and a squeeze." "Take your hen," said the wise old man. "Take in my hen? What a curious plan." Well, the hen laid an egg on the fireside rug and flapped round the room, knocking over the jug. The little old lady cried, "Oh, what shall I do? It was little for one, but it's tiny for two. Oh, my nose has a tickle, but there's no room for a sneeze. My house is a squash and a squeeze." And she said, "Wise old man, won't you help me, please? My house is a squash and a squeeze." "Take in your goat," said the wise old man. "Take in my goat? What a curious plan." Well, the goat chewed the curtains and stepped on the egg and sat down to nibble on the table leg. The little old lady cried, "Glory me! It was tiny for two, but it's crampy for three. The hen pecks the goat's got fleas. My house is a squash and a squeeze." And she said, "Wise old man, won't you help me, please? My house is a," can you guess what she said? "A squash and a squeeze." "Take in your pig," said the wise old man. "Take in my pig. What a curious plan." But she took in her pig, who kept chasing the hen and raiding the cupboard again and again. The little old lady cried, "Stop, I implore. It was crampy for three, but it's teeny for four. Even the pig in the cupboard agrees. My house is a squash and a squeeze." And she said, "Wise old man, won't you help me, please? My house is a squash and a squeeze." "Take in your cow," said the wise old man. "Take in my cow? What a curious plan." Well, the cow took one look and jumped straight at the pig, then jumped up on the table and tapped out a jig. The old lady cried, "Oh, heavens alive, it was teeny for four and it's weeny for five. I'm tearing my hair out, I'm down on my knees. My house is a squash and a squeeze." And she said, "Wise old man, won't you help me, please? My house is a squash and a squeeze." "Take them all out," said the wise old man, "but then I'll be back where I first began." But she opened the window and out flew the hen. "That's better. At last I can sneeze again." She showed out the goat and she shooed out the pig. My house is beginning to feel pretty big. Well, she huffed and she puffed and she pushed out that cow. "Just look at my house. Why, it's enormous now." "Thank you, old man, for the work you have done. Why, it was weeny for five, but it's gigantic for one. There's no need to grumble. There's no need to grouse. There's plenty of room in my house." And now she's full of frolics and fiddle-dee-dees. It isn't a squash and it isn't a squeeze. Oh yes, she's full of frolics and fiddle-dee-dees. It isn't a squash and it isn't a squeeze. And that's the end. So what she thought was too small seemed to get smaller and smaller the more animals she brought inside. And then in the end, when she let them go, it was just right. Well, why don't we do a finger play We did this as with some puppets a couple of weeks ago, but I think we can just do it as a finger play. Can you show me your 5 fingers? There were 5 in the bed, and the little one said, roll over, roll over. So they all rolled over, and one fell out. You need 4. There were 4 in the bed, and the little one said, roll over, roll over. So they all rolled over, and one fell out. How many do we have now? There were 3 in the bed, and the little one said, roll over, roll over. So they all rolled over, and one fell out. Can you show me 2? There were 2 in the bed, and the little one said, roll over, roll over. So they all rolled over, and one fell out. I forgot to roll there, didn't I? I better make up for it this time. There was 1 in the bed, and the little one said, I'm lonely, I'm lonely. So they all climbed back in the bed, and then they all said, oh, good night. Well, our second story today is called Those Pesky Rabbits. It's by Ciera Flood. She wrote it, and she drew the pictures. And it's published by Little Bee Books. There's a bear, and I think those are the pesky rabbits. Can you see okay? Now, Bear lived on his own in the middle of nowhere, and that was just the way he liked it. So you can imagine how annoyed he was when a family of rabbits built their house right next to his. Now, soon after the rabbits had moved in, there was a on his door. Hello, Mr. Bear. Could we borrow some honey, please? We want to bake a cake. I don't have any honey, Bear said. Pesky rabbits, he muttered after they'd left. Bear poured himself a cup of tea and then added a drop of milk and 10 spoons of honey. Now, he was just about to sit down when... Oh, do you see his mat? It says, go away. Hello, Mr. Bear. Could you please help us chop some wood? No, said Bear. I'm far too busy to help. Look what he was doing. Does he look busy to you? Mm-hmm. Well, after his tea, Bear had fallen asleep in front of his fire when... Can you guess? What now? He growled. Oh, hello, Mr. Bear. Would you like to swap books with us? No, I would not like to swap books. Well, a little later, Bear had just started to eat his dinner when... Hello, Mr. Bear. Do you want to watch the shooting stars with us? What do you think he's going to say? No! No, no, no! Bear roared. What I want is to be left alone. So Bear got what he wanted. And then one day, he heard a soft... But there were no rabbits at his door, just a basket. And inside was a cake, some wood, a book, and a note addressed to Mr. Bear. And it said, Dear Mr. Bear, we know you have no honey to bake a cake, so we baked one for you. And we hope you can build a warm fire with the wood. And we also thought you might like to read our favorite book, The Hutchliker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's about stars and planets and space. From your neighbors, those pesky rabbits. Well, Bear ate the cake, and he made a fire with the wood, and he read the book before bedtime. But he couldn't fall asleep that night. And for the first time ever, Bear felt lonely. So he decided to do something he had never done before. He went to visit his neighbors. And it looks like he had some honey, some wood, and a big pile of books. Bear spent a lot of time with the rabbits after that. They collected honey. They baked. They chopped wood. And they read stories. And do you know something? That was just the way he liked it. So what those stories had in common? Well, I think they both found that sometimes it's nice to be alone, and sometimes it's nice to be with friends. So I hope you get to be with some friends, and we'll see you next time that it's time for a story. Bye-bye.